Hello, hello. This is Yuri of Moon Sales Professionals and Let's Talk Moving podcast. And with me, I have Nate Becker with Higher Ground Moving.
Woo!
And then you got the whole man in the van operation, which get in the way, right? So, because of
Yeah.
course people are trying to spend less money, but then, it ends up what it ends up.
Well,
We all know what those moves look like.
let me ask you a question then, because I really want to speak to the movers or to the movers who are wanting to start their own company now to expand in their life and everything. What
Sure.
would you recommend? You talk to more movers than I do by far. Like you're on episode 1 million on this podcast. What would you recommend a new mover focus on first? They're gonna need to hire a couple of guys. Do you think they should rent a truck or lease a truck or buy a truck or kind of give me the
So
rundown
I
of
before you do all that, so you got basically put on paper and at least mentally understand in your head how much finances are required to run a legit operation, right? Because when you are a foreman and you just got off the truck yesterday and you know how to do the physical work. You know how
Mhm.
to do the job itself. But what you don't know, and that's why guys like Louis Massaro, that's why Titan Retreats and things like that exist, right?
Yeah.
They're basically paid for shortcuts of information, right?
Yeah.
Which, frankly, you can find this information yourself for free. If
Yeah,
you,
but there's something
but you
about
got to
moving.
spend your time doing it, right? You got to
Yeah.
spend your time doing it. Or you can, frankly, there's plenty of moving companies out there that are not in your market that you can reach out to. And some of these owners are going to be more than willing to give you some information that are going to help you because it's a very small world and it's a very small industry in that regard. Everybody knows each other, and some of the guys are more than willing to help other guys get
Oh
ahead,
yeah. I've
especially
experienced that.
especially if they're not competition. If they're
Yeah.
competition, that's a question mark. But if
That's
you're in
different.
Oregon and somebody is trying to run a company in Texas, and your plans are never to be in Texas,
Yeah.
like you're not going to be competitors to each other. But you can help each other down the road because if the Texas company ends up doing, say, a long distance move to Oregon eventually, you
Man,
can be
I
there to help them. If you end up having to move going to Texas, they can help you. There's different
Mhm.
ways that you can do things, right? And now for a word from our sponsors. If you're a moving business owner, you may have already heard of Moversville, an email marketing service that helps moving companies increase, repeat, and referral business. But have you heard of Moversville Connect? Moversville Connect is an incredible resource for all things moving. They feature an array of vendors and services that cater specifically to the moving industry. You can find companies that provide moving software, moving sales services, marketing services, moving equipment providers, and much, much more. Visit moversville.com today to learn more. But I think once again, you need to figure out what you need to do financially. So you
Okay.
need packing supplies. Okay.
Yeah.
What are the good options for you to get wholesale? Like Victory Packaging or whatever else that's out there, like
Yeah.
what is it, New Way or
New
whatever. There's
Haven.
New Haven, thank you.
Yeah.
So there's a bunch of different ones that are out there. So you got to look at that and see what their prices are versus Home Depot or some other place you go to get your packing supplies, right? Because even a
Mhm.
little bit, if you're getting that in bulk, overall you will save some money there, right? Especially
Packing is bread and butter,
if
man.
you're
That's
planning to run that operation. The other part is too is that do not charge your customer what you spend on packing supplies.
no.
You
No.
should be getting at least double.
Yeah.
At
I,
least.
I would say bare minimum 30%. But right now we get about 70% return on our boxes.
Right. But
So
realistically, if you're spending if your box is costing you $2, you
mhm.
should be at minimum charging that customer for that same box $4 to $6.
Yeah, I
Because
concur.
because on the day of the move, they're not just paying for supply, they're paying for convenience of them not picking
Mhm.
up their butt, going to Home Depot and buying those supplies and packing their own stuff, right?
Correct.
So you got to look at that. Then
Mhm.
you got to look at the fact, okay, am I renting? Am I buying the truck? What am I doing with the truck here,
What do you
right?
recommend?
Honestly, if you're gonna rent a truck, what you're charging needs to make up for it. In
Mm.
the long run, it's always going to be better to have your own. But if you're starting out, you just got to make sure that whatever you're charging makes up for it somewhere. Like find a lower price rentals.
Man,
Find
my first year in
places like
business,
Budget or whatever that you can make a deal with the places of a location
condo.
where they give you a lower rate, but you're renting from just from them all the time, right? So
Yeah.
they get the person that you're working with gets a good deal out of it because they're selling it for you, but you're getting a lower rate. So you got to figure that stuff out, right? Same
Mhm.
goes. Is it worth to get a fuel card? Is it not worth to get a fuel card,
It is worth
right?
it, in my
The
opinion.
Right. So stuff like that. Like I don't deal with that stuff personally, but I know that stuff is there because I'm
Yeah.
more than just your sales guy. I've actually been on the truck. I've actually been on the job. I've actually ran moving companies for a month at a time where I had to be there at 5 in the morning to let the crews out. So I know
Yeah.
how all that stuff goes, right? The other
Yeah.
part is you want to make sure that the guys that come out with you, they know what they're doing because that, especially early
Ooh,
on,
especially
that reputation, those
everything.
reviews are extremely important, right? Then the other part is how much are you spending on leads? You're gonna need,
Yeah.
especially in the beginning, nobody knows who you are. You got
Hmm.
to build a reputation. Unfortunately, you got to buy leads. Leads are crap right now. They've been that way for a while because there haven't been any new lead providers in the market for the past 10 years at least. There hasn't
Really?
been anybody legit. Like we
Hmm.
all know who the big ones are, and they're all the
Hmm.
same. There hasn't been anybody new that came out that had been able to blow anybody's socks off, and certainly nobody that's been providing legit leads that are that are exclusive. Like all the leads are going to three,
Yeah.
five, seven moving
At
companies
least.
at
Yeah.
least, right? So you're competing with all those companies. So you
Hmm.
want to make sure that your pricing is legit too. So that's that stuff. I mean, obviously, at the end of the day, organic leads is the best thing that you can possibly
But it
find.
takes time.
It takes time. Does your company need more creative marketing and ad campaigns to improve traffic and organic leads? Well, Moving Sales Professionals has a solution for you. We have partnered with social media marketing agency that has over 300 million views on their ads and videos across social media, and they have generated over $35 million for their clients over the last 10 years alone. Their services include content creation, social media ads, pay-per-click campaigns, website and funnel development, Google Ads, email marketing campaigns, lead generation, and much, much more. For limited time only, they have discounted rates for their services. Sign up for a free consultation call with us via our Calendly link on our website or below this video. And I can tell you, as a sales guy, I'd rather get 5 leads that are where I'm going to reach 4 than get 100 leads that where I'm going to reach 20.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like because the amount of time I'm going to spend spinning my wheels, especially so you buy 100 leads. Out of
Hmm.
100 leads, 40% is junk. So now you're
Yeah.
only really getting 60. Out of
Hmm.
60 leads, you're lucky if you get half of them on the phone. And out of
Hmm.
that half, we'll see how many you can actually book because you're competing with those five,
Yeah.
seven
And
other companies for
those
those
potential
ones.
customers have had too many, salesmen already call them. If you're the fourth or fifth salesman calling,
Right,
then
you
they
got
don't
you
want
got
to.
to hit the lead the moment it hits your system too. That's the
Yep.
other part. And you got to keep calling. You got to keep following up. That's the name of the game. So, like too many are the issues in sales in the industry is that too many of these reps are not really salespeople and they give up on these leads too soon.
And there's a fine art. Like I don't like salesmen, but I like professionals. So I like not being pushed, but I like being informed. So does that make sense?
Yeah, and at the end of the day, I'm gonna say something that there was a gentleman I can't remember. He works with one of the biggies. It was either Allied or whatever. I forget which company. But I met him at a New York State event, and one of the things that he said to me stuck with me. One of the things he said it was, "You got to ask for the business."
Yeah,
So
yeah. Yeah, dude.
if you're not using the phrase, "What can I do to earn your business?"
Yeah.
I book jobs like that all the time. And I get messages from the customer all the time where they straight up tell me, this is the reason why I chose you because you asked this question.
So next question on being a new moving company and building it forward. I didn't rent. I rented my whole first year. I didn't buy it till my second year. That's my dad's advice. It was very solid advice. But what about getting the behind the scenes people? I know I keep asking about your company, but do you genuinely think that it would be more cost effective to hire moving sales professionals rather than hiring
Well,
someone
so
in-house?
so here's the question. You as the owner of a moving company, are you a sales guy
No,
Are you a
no.
physical guy on the truck? Do you
Yeah.
have understanding in something that's going to get you business? So if you don't have understanding in how sales process works, what
Hmm.
honestly, what makes you think that you're going to be a pro at finding people that do?
Boom. That is exactly it. And I lucked into my person I found. I begged her to come work. It took a couple of years of business before she's like, all right, now I believe you. But I don't have faith that I can do that again in my next spot. So, and having the right person on the phone just means everything. Because no matter how good the
Sure.
guys do, if the person on the phone sounds, crass or just not fun or uninformed, then no one's going to go with our company.
Right.
So yeah.
Right. So that's one thing. The other thing, like I said, if that's not your specialty, then you
Hmm.
don't really know who you need. Who, for majority of moving companies, who are the sales reps? Let's be honest about that.
Yeah.
Their cousin, brother, sister.
Friend. Yep.
They're probably family. They're probably somebody that works at a local bar that's just loud and talks a lot, right? That doesn't mean that they're going to be a good salespeople. Maybe they just talk a lot. Some of
Hmm.
them maybe, but maybe they're super uncomfortable talking to people on the phone. You don't know that. Are
One
those people initially somebody that I could see as potentially being a good sales rep? Maybe, maybe.
after
Like
some
my
school.
preference this entire time, so we are going into I mean, I've been doing this over 20 years, but moving sales professionals, we've been open since 2018. So at
Hmm.
this point, we're the longest running call center for moving companies, period.
That
There's
blows my
nobody that's been
mind.
around longer.
Well,
Not
I'm
not a
honored to be
single
on the phone with
company
you.
that's out there. There's not a single one that's been around longer than us. So, but at the same time, my preference is not to hire people that used to work for other moving companies. Of course, there are exceptions, and of course, despite how many times I told myself that I'm never going to do it again, I've done it over and over and over again. But at the same time, I take that risk. I'm hoping I'm going to find that, and so far I've been proven wrong multiple times.
Let me tell you something. I do not hire crew leads who have ever worked for another moving company.
Yeah.
If they have, they're untrainable to the way that higher
Yep.
ground moving does things.
Right.
They've already got it.
Right.
So our best hires are people who don't know how to move but have a positive attitude.
Right. So that's the same thing I would say with sales. Do I like to hire people with sales experience? Yes. Does it
Yeah.
have to be moving? No. In
Okay.
fact, it's better that it's not because I'd rather teach them myself how to do sales in this industry.
Yeah.
Because the problem is that there's plenty of moving companies out there that have taught the sales reps the wrong way. Like
Hmm.
you have companies that go, okay, this is the minimum that you can book the job for, and then we'll handle whatever issues arise. We'll handle them on the day of the move. Okay. So
Hmm.
sales rep like that, that's booking jobs for 3 to 4 hour minimums. That's all they know how to book,
Hmm.
right? They're not good at doing quotes. They're not,
Inventory.
they don't really know how to handle objections. They're
Yeah.
providing minimums and people are saying yes to them. And at the
Hmm.
same time, these guys think that they're amazing sales reps because they never hear any issues because the operations are the ones that are, or the foremen are the ones that are dealing with those issues. So they don't know how much they misquote.
Mm.
So they think that they're these great reps, and they come to me and I tell them, hey, no, I need you to quote like this. I need you to take a full inventory. I need you to, this is how we quote. This is how we actually do things based on the information that we obtain. This is the formula that we follow, right?
It's so hard to
And
train
they
that on.
can't do it. And they
Yeah.
cannot do it. And on top of that, they all say about how, like in the conversation when they're trying to get a job, they're like, oh yeah, follow-ups. I'm amazing at follow-ups. And then it comes to be, hell no, they're not
Mm.
amazing at follow-ups. If your company is out there and you guys have used OnQ, okay, OnQ does not exist, it's out of business. But if you have, tell me if this is not true. Please put it in the comments or whatever. Tell me if this is not true. OnQ, they were great at picking up the initial calls. They were quick. I'll give them that. That they had. But if they did not book on that first or second call, follow-up went by wayside. They were
Mm.
focusing on those initial calls more so than other things. And frankly, we get calls from people that are not ready to say yes to you right away.
That's okay.
And that's okay. You gotta work it. You gotta work it. You gotta call it. You gotta follow up. You gotta be people who appreciate that. Sometimes it's okay to ask people, how often can I call you? What's okay? What's not okay? At what point, like I'm a sales guy. This is my job. My job is to call you. What's
Hmm.
too much for you specifically? Ask them that question. There's nothing wrong with asking that. If
And
anything, you want to respect their boundaries.
oh,
Honestly, I've had more people tell me, thank you so much for staying on me, than tell me, I am not booking with you because you've called me too much. The other thing, too, I would say is if you got to a point where a customer is telling you to F off because you've called them too much,
yeah.
that's not a good thing.
I
Don't
should have.
consider that to be a good thing. If it got to that point, at that point you're stalking and you're crossing the line. And if that's happening consistently, you're approaching it the whole wrong. And you're actually doing more disservice to yourself and to your company than you're doing positive. Why? Because I could be talking to a guy and I could be calling and they could choose a different mover, right? But if I don't overdo it, they're going to have their friends that are going to come to them. They're going to say, well, how did your move go?
Mm,
Oh, it wasn't as good as I was hoping, blah, blah, blah. But I was talking to this guy during, and after this process, especially some of the things that he told me, it right now it made me wish that I would have used him.
yep. So we do a lot of those
Now
type of phone
his
calls.
friends
Yeah.
are going to ask who was the mover.
Hmm.
Now you got some referrals coming. Or
Yeah.
opposite side, this guy can say, yeah, this is how it went, but man, there was this other guy that was just calling me, inundating me, horrible. I had to tell him off just to get him to stop. And they're going, oh, well, who was that guy? I'll make sure not to use them.
Yep.
Now you
Yeah.
just
Especially
lost all that potential business too. So
I got a
there's
small
there's a
market.
fine line. What I
Yeah.
usually tell my sales reps is that I don't want you to cross the line, but I don't mind if you flirt with it.
Yeah. Hey, line.
Right, basically. So you don't want to cross it because at that point you're doing too much and you're actually hurting yourself. The other
Hmm.
thing too is that I would trust the sales reps to make those calls. At what point do I pull back? At what point do I re-engage? Why? Because like if I'm talking to a customer for the fifth, 10th, whatever time, and I'm hearing that air of annoyance in their voice,
Hmm.
I know at that point I need to pull back and maybe not call them for a week, especially if their move is out like 2, 3 months,
Yeah.
right? You as the owner are not on the phone with the customer. So you're not going to hear this. You're not going to be privy to this. And you're going to be like, well, why aren't the follow-ups done? Why are these calls sitting in the smart moving as stale leads? Well,
You just gave me
that
a
could be leads. It could be leads like that you're leaving it there on purpose because you heard that kind of air to it, to the conversation, and that's the moment you pull back. Because
mhm.
if you keep on engaging, they will tell you to F off, or you're never going to talk to them again. And this could be a big move. It could be a big job that they're just not ready to pull the trigger on.
Do you guys record all your calls? Is there a
Well,
way like an owner
Ring
could go to
Central does.
listen? Oh, yeah. So I've been really wanting to instigate getting our calls recorded like Ring Central. We don't use that. I think it's really a important thing for a new moving company to be able to check on their sales staff to see exactly what they're saying or promising or not promising or not trying to
Right. And
sell.
it is so much about confidence too. And you can hear that in conversation too. So it's like
Yeah.
sometimes you're like, oh man, they're not booking, but then you got to listen to the call. If the person sounds good,
Hmm.
sometimes it's just the lack of the draw.
Yeah.
It's not going to be always, oh, the sales rep must be doing something wrong.
But confidence is key.
That's not always the case because in my experience, it's not always about booking. At least that's what I tell my sales reps. What I want to hear as somebody that does this for a living, what I want to hear is meaningful conversations. If
Yeah.
meaningful conversations are taking place between your sales rep and your potential client, sooner or later they will book.
Sorry, Mike. Take a drink of water and I forget there's a swallowing pipe and there's a breathing pipe. I get them confused sometimes. Why is it the same pipe? You know what I'm saying? Like, come on,
Right,
man.
right. That's all we always say that. Again, we went the wrong way, right? But
Yeah,
anyway, we
man.
can talk about this for hours. But
Yeah, sorry.
Nate,
I
thank you
brought it
for
up.
no, it's okay. So Nate, thank you very much for joining me,
Of
guys.
course.
Please like, please subscribe. Unfortunately, we have more watchers than subscribers. So, guys, if you're not subscribed to our podcast, please subscribe, please like, please support us. It only helps so we can get this out to more people. The more people like and subscribe, the more of this goes out to other people so they can actually see this podcast. Okay.
Can I quickly do a little shout out for one of my projects? Sorry
Of
to.
course.
Well, I have a podcast myself. It's called the Venture into Business podcast. Just started it out, got about 21 episodes out, so you can find it on Spotify or YouTube. And I'm so happy and thankful that you called me up and got me on your show today. It's been a blast, man, and informative to me too.
Well, it's always a good time, and of course, anytime you want to bring me on your podcast, I'm always a go.
Yes, sir.
All right. So once again, thank you very much for joining me. And like I always say, the world moves on its own, so let the professionals move yours for you. Thank you for joining me, and we'll talk again soon.